Hello, everyone. Happy to have you join us this evening as we continue our 30-minute multifamily money series on our topic this evening, 6 tips to put your money to work for you. I don't know about you, but I want my money working for me, right? I mean, who here wants their money to work for them? Yes. And why shouldn't it be? Like, we work so hard for our money, it should be working just as hard for us. So, tonight we're going to be looking at some tips for putting our money to work. Give your money a job, right? We all have a job. Well, at least I hope so anyway. Even if you're self-employed, you're doing some kind of work in exchange for getting income. But it doesn't just stop there. When we get that income, the next step is to give that income a job, right? If you're not doing that, chances are that you're working too hard and that you most likely are going to be working for money for the rest of your life. But what if it was the other way around? What if money was working for you instead of you working for money? What are the possibilities? Could you possibly work less? Could it mean that you might actually enjoy life instead of counting down the days to the weekend, right? Maybe it means that you can spend more time doing things that you love, spending time with like your family and friends and traveling or playing pickleball, whatever it is that makes your heart happy, doing all of those things instead of constantly having to work and just being tied to the grindstone all the time, working for that money. Maybe it means retiring early. I know that's a big one for me. I want to retire when by the age of 55. And sadly, when I thought about that, that is not that far away, but that is a topic for a different night, how crazy fast this life goes by. But I digress. A lot of you know my story in that I was taught growing up, I was just taught to get a good job and work hard and save my money. And I did all of those things, thinking I'm doing all the right things, just saving, saving, saving. And my parents are in their 70s and they both still work. And that's great. If they want to work, I love it. But there's a difference between wanting to work and having to work. And the reality is that a lot of us weren't taught how to effectively put our money to work. We were just taught the traditional ways of, working hard, saving, maybe putting money in a 401k here or there, maybe doing some stock investments here or there. And we've been brainwashed that we need to be working for money instead of making our money work for us. And then we start to approach later in life, we start to realize as we approach that retirement age that maybe I won't be able to retire when I thought that I would because saving is not cutting it. I knew that there had to be a better way, and that's what got me started looking at all different types of of investing, including real estate investing, stock market investing, different asset classes. I looked at laundry mats and car washes and all different types of things, but different ways that I could put my money to work to really maximize the returns on my money. So tonight I'm going to share a few of those things with you, and we're packing a lot in. So let's get started. I am going to share my screen here. So give me just a second because I'm working with dual screens and that's kind of always a challenge. Okay, perfect. So let's get into this. Let's get started. 6 tips to make your money work for you. Just start with a quick disclaimer here, guys. The information provided is for educational purposes only. Dawn Keller, that is me, is not a CPA, tax advisor, attorney. The information is not intended as and may not be relied upon as tax, legal, investment, or other advice. Just a little bit about me. Again, I'm Dawn Keller with Crown Capital Multifamily. I'm the founder and CEO. I've been a real estate investor since 2012. I've been currently a partner in over 1,000 apartment units in the DFW area, valued at over $90 million. And I help people create passive income through investing. I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to invest. They just don't know all the options available to them. And we tend to stick to those traditional investments that we know, like the stock market, right? So I like the education of just helping people find different options and what's going to work best for them. And then I'm also just in my spare time, I'm a volunteer with the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. My dog I got her therapy certified. So we go volunteer at senior centers and elementary schools and that sort of thing. So just really fun. So it's fun to have a good passion to keep you going, right? So here we go. So kind of like we talked about, does your money have a job? Um, is your money working as hard for you as you do for it? And are you making the best use of your savings account, your retirement account, other funds, right? So these are questions that we can all be working like, what are the strategies that we can be using, implementing to make the most of those, to make the most of our money? Number one, think outside the stocks, right? So that is traditional form of investing. That's what I started in. I started just with the 401k and then branched out in just some other stocks, just kind of playing around. And I love that. Like, hey, I still invest in the stock market. I am heavily invested in multifamily as well, real estate, which for anyone that is not aware of what that is, it's basically just apartments. So we buy multifamily, we buy apartments here, mostly in DFW, and that's our way of investing in real estate, or just one way. So here's just kind of a little snapshot of a typical return on investment for the S on the right there, the S&P 500. I think this is like the 10-year historical is about 11%. Hey, 11% is great. But it wouldn't be wise to put all of your money into one basket. In other words, the stock market, which is also typically your IRAs and your 401ks as well, and diversify into other asset classes, right? So multifamily, depending on the asset type, there's kind of a range. This is a normal type of investment between 14 and 18%. Again, kind of depends depending on what asset you're investing in. Hey, why not check out real estate, right? I think a lot of people confuse diversification within the stock market. They're like, well, hey, Don, I'm invested in technology and emerging markets and healthcare. That's not really diversification. What it really means is investing in different asset classes, in maybe real estate or trusts or land. I mean, it's real estate as well, but anything that's just, you buy a business, you invest in some businesses, startups, whatever you've got. So, that's just some one way that you can diversify. And just to kind of show you a couple things here, I'm going to add a couple things on our slide. This is a chart just to show you the difference of what that impact looks like, because we all think S&P 500, 11%. I love that. That's great. But if we were getting a little bit better return, if we were doing some real estate investments and getting a better return, it makes a big impact. So what I did here is basically took $100,000 investment and then just kind of look to see what does that look like over the life of a 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road if we did multifamily investing versus the S&P 500. And the blue line there on the line graph on the left is the S&P 500, and the green line is is multifamily. And then you can see the chart on the right as well. But just looking at the line graph, you can see like kind of we start out the same there around year 5 is pretty close, right? And year 5 is 168,000 versus 210. But then something really interesting happens in year 10. Those lines start to massively start shifting in different directions. S&P 500, hey, it's a great solid curve upward. I love that. But the green line is doing something crazy. It's like going like way wonky up. And that's because like over time, it's just like compounding and you're just getting more and more and more building that wealth, right? Is really compounding your wealth. So by year 20, huge difference. You're talking 800,000 versus almost $2 million. You can see that makes a huge impact. So diversification really is number one. Number two, show me the cash. Show me the cash flow, right? Like show me the money. Okay. Now this slide is specific to real estate, but hang with me because I've got more tips coming. So look for properties that are already cash flowing. That a good indicator of that is that properties, if they're 90% occupied or more. Now this may not be as applicable to single family. It's kind of hard to have a 90% occupancy if you have like one single family home. But this kind of applies to multifamily. We have multiple units. So looking for 90% occupancy, that's a really stable property. That's a good indicator. But then really beware of hidden expenses. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute. But what I'm trying to say here is if this is your first real estate deal, maybe don't go buy that abandoned duplex across the street or 10plex across the street that's wrapped in caution tape and has like a big sign like do not enter. That sign is maybe an indication that you've bit off too much more than you can chew, right? We're not looking for another job. There you're like, oh, but it has so much potential. I can, renovate this, and maybe not for your first one. We're looking for something that does not require a hazmat suit. Okay. There is plenty of money to be made in stable cash flowing assets that already are highly occupied, that are livable. We don't need to go find that abandoned, even though, yes, there may be a lot of potential. Let's just I want to make money in my sleep. That's the goal here, is making money in our sleep, that passive income, and just getting our money to make more money. I don't want to be out there with a sledgehammer. Okay. And then I'm going to show you just a little snapshot here. Oh, here we go. Um, this is what I'm talking about for these cash flowing assets. Like, how do you know if they are currently cash flowing? So this is a very transparent business, fortunately. And I would ask for a certified copy of the financials from the seller. Typically, what they'll give you is what's called a T12. It's the last 12 months of all the income and expenses. Now, I shortened this. This is from one of our properties, but I just took the last 3 months is what we're looking at here. So trailing three, essentially those columns there are the past 3 months. Okay. So you've got total income for the past 3 months. It's been 193,000, 171, 190. My expenses have been 99.82, 107. And that gives us a net operating income of 93, 89, and 82. Hey, that's great. That's awesome. Like, this property looks like it's cash flowing. Most people make the mistake of stopping there. The problem is there's what we call below the line expenses that not all sellers will show you. And you need to ask for those, or you need to figure out what those expenses are. It doesn't just end with net operating income. So below the line expenses could be, there's this other expenses category, this catch-all, right? That could be construction management fees, accounting fees, tax preparation fees, partnership expenses. And then you've got non-operating expenses, which is essentially your debt. It's your mortgage payment. And a seller is not typically going to show you that, because that is not, your debt may look different than their debt, right? You're probably going to get a new loan, unless you assume their loan, which is also possible. But if you're getting a new loan, it's going to look completely different. So they're typically not going to show you what their loan payments are. So those are all hidden costs that we need to look for. So definitely now my cash flow, when I take all those expenses out, it's drastically different. Now I've got my net income, this is my cash flow, at 16,000, 37,000, and 25,000, way different than the numbers of net operating income. So the property is cash flowing, but you want to see realistic numbers of how that property is cash flowing. Number 3, location matters. Yes, it does. Number 1, look for landlord and business friendly states. I pulled the top 5 landlord friendly states: Texas, Florida, Alabama, Arizona, and Colorado. Why does this matter to us? Lots of reasons. But one, for example, is a lot of states are either going to be tenant friendly or they're going to be landlord friendly. And that can make a big difference in your business. I mean, this is a business model. Unless you're just buying one single family home, it really is a business. If you're looking at a portfolio of single family or multifamily, short-term rentals like Airbnb and VRBO, whatever it is that you're looking at real estate, it's a business, right? And so you want to be able to work in a state that is going to a lot of time have a good balance, at least. But I mean, it'd be good if they were favorable to landlords, because it's going to hold you up in a lot of places if not. So if it's a very tenant friendly state, it's going to be really hard. That's just one example, is the eviction process. I know no one likes to talk about evictions, but it's part of the business. And what you don't want is somebody who hasn't paid rent in 6 months, and you're trying to evict them, and the process is so long that it takes that long, months and months and months of going through the legal system to process that eviction. And now you've got a resident who's lived rent free for 6, 8, 9 months, and that's going to cut into your bottom line. So there's other reasons too. Some states have rent control. Some require certain registrations and licenses that are expensive and just very, very time consuming. So these are all important considerations. It may not seem like it, but I'm trying to set you up for success here, and steer you clear of some of mistakes that you don't, just unnecessary headaches that are completely avoidable. I mean, some of y'all are like, Yeah, Don, I tried investing in real estate and it just didn't work out. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what happened? And they're like, well, I bought an abandoned warehouse in California, and now I'm dealing with legal fees and zoning restrictions and back taxes. And I'm just like, well, yeah. I mean, did you check into that? You're investing in a state that is very difficult to work in and is very lengthy legal process. And so I'm trying to help you out and avoid some of these mistakes that can get your money working faster, right? Look for areas that have above average job growth. So I live here in Dallas with my husband here and our dog Fiona. And Texas has a current job growth rate of 2.2%, outpacing the national average by 0.7%. So great. You're looking for a healthy economy, right? That makes sense. Above average population growth, same thing, is that we're looking for what states or what cities, even what areas, what regions have population growth. And here's just a little chart. Again, I just kind of did a snapshot of the top five fastest growing. This is percentage growth year over year of population growth. And it's actually Idaho leading. Who knew? Idaho, South Carolina, Florida, Texas, and Delaware. This is for the past 4 years since 2020. So there's a migration to the Sun Belt states, though. In general, I realize Idaho is not one of them, but South Carolina, Florida, Texas, like Alabama. There's a lot of migration coming to the South. So follow that, right? It's a great indicator of like where people are moving. Invest there. And I know my Dallasites on here tonight can all testify. We've seen the population growth in this area, and North Texas is growing like crazy, and it's great for our economy. Maybe not so great for traffic, but it is great for our economy. So we like to see that. That's a healthy sign of an economy. And then rent growth and vacancy rates. This is data that you can Google for free. Just Google it and find, if you're looking, you're kind of going from like a macro view to a micro view, right? So we're looking at the state. Is it landlord friendly? Or then, okay, I find some cities or area regions that I want to invest in. And then you're even kind of going down to the specific neighborhood to kind of check all of those boxes to make sure you're kind of looking for those properties that are cash flowing, that have potential to avoid a lot of those headaches, and they're going to make a path to success and growing your money so much faster. Rent growth and vacancy rates. This is a snapshot of Dallas or since 2018. I know it's kind of hard to see there, but a lot of crazy stuff going on. You can see definitely there was like a dip during the pandemic, and then it skyrocketed, and then it kind of leveled out. And now last year it shows 2023 there was a dip there. So, but just look for those trends, right? You want to see, what does rent growth look like, and what do vacancy rates look like? Is there too much supply in the market? These are all just kind of important things to look for. And then lastly, like I said, micro level, look at the neighborhood itself. Look for clues, like, are there churches and schools nearby, parks, conveniences, good employment, a variety of employment, access to highways. Number four, tap into your home equity. This is a great way to put your money to work, and often overlooked, I think, because people don't know how it works, or they're scared of it, or they're like, oh, I don't want to lose my house. Trust me, the bank doesn't want you to lose your house either. Okay. That's why there are protocols in place. There's protections in place. There's limitations on how much you can borrow. But essentially what we're talking about here is a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. So what is a HELOC? It's a loan that allows you to borrow money against the equity of your home, and then use that money in really whatever way that you want. And think of it this way, that money is money that you've kind of earned before. People think like, well, I have to sell my house in order to really realize that equity. That's not true. You can use that money just as if it was sitting in your bank account. It's money that you basically earned by investing in your home, your personal home, your residence. And now that has grown over time, and you've been there for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Well, you earn that money just as much as you would if it was an investment property. It's the same thing. So that money, use it. It's yours to use, right? So don't be scared to do that. I mean, just look into, talk to your lenders and see what options you have. But definitely, this is untapped money that you should be using to your advantage. And a lot of people will say like, well, Dawn, like, I'm going to have to pay interest on that money. Yes, you will. But I look at it this way. If I can make more money in putting that money to work, giving it a job, right, then the interest payment, then it's a no-brainer. So for example, let's say just the S&P 500, right? We looked at 11% is the historical average of return, or for these numbers, let's just say 10%. If I can make 10% annually on an investment, but my interest rate is 5%, I'm still making 5%. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Why not do that? Why not put that money to work and it's just extra income? Okay, you may say like, all right, well, on $100,000, that's only 5 grand. Well, you get a free vacation every year, right? That you wouldn't have had otherwise. It's free. It's free money. If you're investing that money and you're clearing your interest rate on the HELOC, it's free money to you. So use it. How much can I borrow? It is based on a percentage of the home value minus what you owe. And there's a maximum of 85% of your home value that you could potentially borrow. So let's say that your home value is $500,000. That's what your home is worth, but you still owe 300,000 on it. Then you would first start by taking the 500,000, you would multiply it by the maximum that you would allow, the max limit, which is 85%, so times 0.5, and you would get 425,000. So you could borrow 425,000 minus what you owe, the 300,000, and that would give you 125,000 that you could potentially borrow. How does the repayment work? It's interest only, which is amazing. And it is variable rate. So look out for that. You want to try to find the best rate possible and just see what the fluctuation, just see how that works on the fluctuations as it's variable. And then the term is usually 5, 10, or 15 years. And then after that, what they call draw period, after that 5, 10, 15-year draw period, that's when you have to start repaying the principal, and you'll be paying principal plus interest at that point. So really you want to be able to pay it down before then. And the payback period is usually about the same. It usually mirrors the draw period, the 5, 10, or 15 years. But then keep in mind too, you're still making your mortgage payments like you normally would. So you're always paying your principal balance down, which is really increasing your credit amount. I mean, think of it like a credit card, kind of like when you pay your credit card down, it also increases how much you can reborrow, right? Same thing. Number 5, use your retirement account. Another one that I think is a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know exists. I didn't know that this existed when I first started investing, and I love this one. So essentially, most of us are going to have some sort of an IRA or 401k. What we're doing here is setting up a self-directed IRA. When you set up a self-directed IRA, you can invest in whatever you want to. Well, I say that. You can invest in almost anything that you want to. Okay, there are a few things that the IRS does not let you, but I will show you a couple examples of what we can invest in. It opens so many more options. So when we think about our IRA or retirement account, 401k, we have it, our custodian is, let's say it's Fidelity or Schwab or something like that, right? All we can do with that money is invest in whatever products they have, which is like stocks and bonds and, equities. That's the only choice. That's what we have to invest in. With a self-directed IRA, you can invest in so much more. And like just one caveat really quick before I go too far into this is there is a little bit about a 401k. There are some little intricacies there. Is if your 401k is still with your current employer, you may not be able to do this. But if it's with the previous employer, usually you can do this. IRA is no problem. You can roll that into a self-directed IRA. And it doesn't have to be all of it. Let's say you have 250,000 in your IRA, but you just want to you want to set up a self-directed IRA, and you would just want to put 50,000 of that 250 into your self-directed, and then use that 50,000 for whatever you want. I want to go buy an Airbnb or whatever. That's what you're doing. So look at this. Check this out is what we can, like, these are just some of the things that we can invest in a self-directed IRA. Real estate, it doesn't matter. Single family, multifamily, land, doesn't matter. Airbnbs, whatever you want. Private entities, startups, trusts, oil and gas, notes, mortgages, I mean, there's so many options that you can use, and you get to choose. You get to choose whatever you like, whatever you know, whatever you're good at, whatever interests you. You get to specify where that money goes. So another way, a great way to diversify, if you don't just have gobs and gobs of cash sitting around doing nothing, but you still want to diversify and you still have an interest in investing in real estate or some private entities, new businesses, startups, whatever you want to invest in. One more again before I move on too fast. To be clear, you're not withdrawing money. I did have someone ask me that, and I was like, just to clarify that it's not a withdrawal out of your account. So the money is going to stay in your IRA, just like it would normally, just like when you invest with Fidelity or anything, that the money is going to stay in there. So just a really important distinction there, but still a great way to diversify. And number six, maximize tax benefits. Again, this is something that I did not know when I first started investing, and I love this one. Again, we're using tools that are available to us, like the IRS set up these tax laws to help us to save money. And as you may have heard, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you can keep. How much money can we keep in our pockets? That's maximizing the profits that we make and the hard-earned money that we work for, right? So there is a tax law called bonus depreciation where we can use up to 60% of our investment amount can be shown as a loss, a paper loss. It's not a real loss, it's a paper loss on a K-1 statement. Unfortunately, this tax law is going away, although maybe with the recent election, maybe it'll be extended. But as of right now, as we approach end of 2024, that amount is up to 60%. It's not always 60%, but the 60% is the maximum. Next year, it goes to 40%. And then the following year goes to 20% and then nothing. And then it goes away unless it gets extended. So crossing our fingers there. But what that means is the IRS is saying we can take all of the depreciation on the property, which means anything not attached to the property. Let's say it's um, appliances and lighting fixtures, anything that's going to decrease in value, right? That's like usable. We can take all that depreciation in the first year, but that's going to help our return so much. I'm going to show you a quick example here. Without bonus depreciation, let's say we're on an investment that we made. We have a $50,000 profit from that investment. We have to pay taxes on that. I know, womp womp. I put 30% here. I know most of us are in a 40% tax bracket, but some of these get taxed differently. So I'm just going to use 30% as an example. So you'd be paying $15,000 in taxes, which means you get to keep 35,000 of that 50. Hey, not bad. It's still great. Love it. Great profit. But with bonus depreciation, that same $50,000 profit, you would be able to use your 60% or up to 60% deduction, which is $30,000. And then you're only paying taxes on $20,000. The 50,000 minus 30, the $20,000. And that's now you're only paying $6,000 in taxes instead of 15. So you get to keep $44,000 instead of $35,000. That is a $9,000 savings in your pocket. How about that? Love that one. And I know it's 6 tips to put your money to work, but I did just put in a seventh one. Here's the thing, like when I first started investing, I didn't know what to invest in. I was overwhelmed and I didn't really have the time at all to be looking at evaluating different things and looking at what I should be doing. And what happens, typically when you're overwhelmed, it sounds overwhelming and you don't have any time, nothing. Like we do absolutely nothing, right? Nothing happens. Then we don't do anything at all. Then we're not one step closer to putting our money to work, right? So it's my recommendation just to find people that are already doing the thing that you want to do and partner with them, right? Just work alongside them. And then if you decide along the way that you're like, I do have more time on my hands and I do want to be more hands-on, then go out on your own. But it's a great way to get started is to partner with people that are already doing the thing that you want to do. So a couple of things, just my recommendation is look for their track record, just their experience with that type of property that's specific, because there's so many different asset classes and things that you can invest in, right? Excuse me. Skin in the game. Make sure that you're aligned in that. I want, whoever I'm partnering with, I want to make sure that we have the same end goal here is to make money. I want them to have invested their own money and out of their own pocket in these deals too. Make sure there's a fair compensation structure. They're all different. It can be structured any way. There's no rule to this, so make sure that it's fair. And then make sure that there's good liquidity for the general partner team. And that's, just in case something goes wrong, it's always good to have that liquidity. So ask these questions, right? When you're talking with people or if you're looking for partners, these are all good questions to ask too. And it's, again, very transparent. So you should easily be able to get the answers to these questions. And that's it. I will leave you with this though. We talked about this at the beginning is we work so hard for our money. And I think on some level, we're all seeking that financial freedom, if you will, right? But I'd be willing to bet that it's not about the money. It's not about how much money really that we can accumulate. It's what that money enables us to do. That money is that freedom. Why it's called financial freedom is because it frees us up to be able to do the things that we want to do. So that's really what this is about. I think it comes down for most people that they want time. They want to buy back their time. We talked about like not having to work until you're 70, and I love that because I think about that. I'm like, I don't want to work until I'm 70, but what about right now? What if right now I want to enjoy my life? I want to spend more time with my family and doing things that I love. So I want to be able to put my money to work now and not be, tied to the grindstone, like tried to work all the time when you'd rather be at a soccer game, your daughter's soccer game or something. So, I love how Henry David Thoreau says, wealth is the ability to fully experience life. I love that quote. Again, you work so hard. We work so hard for our money. And I think that you deserve the best for you and your family. So, whatever your reason being, not wanting to work until you're 70, or you're trying to create a legacy wealth for your children, multifamily has really been a game changer for me. It's really just helped me get that financial freedom faster. So I would just encourage you just to do one thing. This is, just one thing today that you can do just to help take one step. And a lot of people do ask me, like, Dawn, is this something that you can help me with? Do you help? Yes, we help people. This is not a program there's no selling of a program. There's no fee for any of this. There's nothing. I'm not selling anything. This is just to help you find investment opportunities to put your money to work. That's what I do. I help people generate passive income. So if that sounds something that you might be interested in just learning more about, scan the QR code on the screen. That is going to take you to a Google form. It's a very simple form. It's just your name and email. And then just ask you if you are interested in a one-on-one call with me. And if you'd like to join our insiders community so you can be the first to know about different education events or upcoming deals, properties that we have, investments. If you kind of want to take a look at that and see what it looks like, no obligation. I'm the only one that sees this form. So, but it's just a way for us to get in touch. And we've helped a lot of people to get started in investing and really putting their money to work. So again, I just encourage you, no matter what you do, just do one thing, because we know all too well how fast life goes by. And you will be a year from now, you'll be saying, man, I wish I would have started a year ago. And I mean, you're going to be saying like, how is it Christmas already? Like it's almost Christmas. I know it's crazy. But so whatever I can help with, let's just hop on a call and I'd be happy to help point you in the right direction. So thank you again for joining me tonight. God bless you all. Have a good night.